Challenge Cup is back. Challenge Cup kicked off really in April. It's hard to believe we're already in May. I'm still getting my head wrapped around that we're literally hanging out in the month of May. Jeez. But we had a round one fixture already for Challenge Cup in April. We had 10 teams going head to head. We had 5 games at one point. A little bit different in this midweek matchup. Hopefully, you tune in to all the matches. They're taking place today on May 3rd, Wednesday. You can catch all the action on Paramount Plus. 3 games for us to go through and make a couple predictions. Let's start with an East region matchup. North Carolina Courage versus New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC. Not going to lie, I'm excited about this one. I think this might be the game that starts to dictate some things in this East region because we have North Carolina Courage who are coming off of a 1-1 draw against Orlando Pride.
Wow.
Late game stunner by Denise O'Sullivan to snatch and seal a point. But then they're going up against Gotham FC, who have all 3 points out of their first round matchup against Washington Spirit. So if there's a winner in this one, they can tighten their grip a little bit in terms of that first place in the East region. When we're looking at these two teams, what are you looking for in terms of rotation? Do you think we'll see a lot of it? Do you think we'll see a little bit of it? You have a winner, you have a loser. Do you think there's not enough here? Do you think maybe we'll see a draw in this one?
Yeah, I think this East region is definitely interesting. As you talked about, Gotham got the win in the first Challenge Cup game, 1-0 over Washington. So they jumped to the top of the standings. And I think it was Christy Mewis. Yeah, midfielder Christy Mewis was on Snacks podcast talking about how she thought it was really important that her team won that first opening game in the Challenge Cup because it sets the tone. You get 3 points, you're at the top of the standings, and it makes the rest of the group stage a little bit easier. So Gotham went into that first Challenge Cup match against Spirit with a game plan, and they executed with it. That was Gotham's first win of this year as well in that midweek. So it meant that much more for them. And now Gotham is coming off a loss in the regular season to Kansas City, a KC team that's kind of turned it around. And I know that Challenge Cup in the regular season in the NWSL are entirely different. But you still have to look at the full picture because these teams are now playing 3 games in 7 or 8 days, and they're coming off of those different matches, and whether it's rain delay or only playing 50 some minutes in a game that we saw from North Carolina, it affects the rotation and it affects how we're going to see all of these teams play in Challenge Cup in the midweek and the rotation. I do think we'll see a bit of rotation from Sean Nahas in North Carolina because they coming off their first win in the regular season since opening weekend of regular season. It was a 52-minute game delayed against Houston in Houston by a bit of lightning in the regular season. And now they're back at home playing against Gotham. I do think we are going to see a bit of rotation between these two sides. But in terms of a winner, what about you? Who are you thinking? With North Carolina and Gotham, you said you're really jazzed for this one. Are we getting a winner?
Yeah, I want to see a winner. I want to see a winner and I want to see a loser. I know, we don't shy away from selecting the draw, right? And when it comes to talking about any prediction, whether it's Challenge Cup or regular season. But when I'm looking at these two teams, I think the biggest this week in particular, I think the biggest thing that we're gonna maybe take a look at is the possibility of a player rotation and what we might see from head coaches and how they're going to navigate the remainder of not just Challenge Cup, but this kind of second quarter of the regular season, right? Because we've already got 5 weeks behind us in the NWSL regular season. So the biggest thing I'm circling is something that you already touched on in chatting a little bit of the overview between these two teams. And it's the fact that North Carolina Courage has some starters who only played 53 minutes in their last game against Houston Dash. It was that abandoned weather game between those two teams. So I'm curious if something like that kind of plays a role or impacts the game planning for the coaching staff around this Challenge Cup game. I'm curious, like how were trainings? How were the scrimmages this week leading into what's essentially going to be a second round of Challenge Cup and week 6 of the regular season? Was there more scrimmage versus just kind of conditioning and things like that? Because again, you've got perhaps an ideal starting 11 that wasn't able to get a full 90 minutes, even though they walked away with a win against Houston Dash due to just league rules. So I think when I'm looking at these two teams, that's the biggest thing for me. I'm looking at who's going to be maybe a little bit, a little more fresh, have the better under them. And I think, if with courage, not having the travel, maybe that's a little of slight advantage. You have all that preparation for a game like this, and you're doing it at home. You get the comforts of your own bed and kind of rolling out and getting into work. So I would like there to be a winner in this one, and I think it might be North Carolina Courage to take this one.
Yeah, I honestly see that as well. Just as you talked about with the rotation, how everything's going. I could see North Carolina winning it, but I think this is going to be a draw. I
Fair.
think that these two sides are both going to come out and look to attack with a bit of rotation, which is going to make things. I don't want to say clunky, but not as smooth as we've seen in the regular season. And these are teams that Gotham, where they are in the standings in regular season, they want to stay at the top and they want to keep picking up points. So they're going to shift their focus a little bit to the regular season. And I think this is going to be a draw between these two sides. So you've got North Carolina and I've got draw.
I've got courage. And I think, listen, I think that's totally fair to peg this one as a draw. I wouldn't be surprised if Challenge Cup produces a lot of draws in general over the course of the span of the tournament, because again, this is the first time that it's running concurrently with the season. It's no longer this sort of pre-season-y tournament, so we're going to see some different things week to week as the at least as the group stage kind of irons itself out. So I think you have to look at that. You have to look at the possibility of rotation, who could be in and who could be out. I mean, gosh, I think if you look at that availability report and you see someone in Mitch Purse who's not available for this Challenge Cup game, I don't blame you for choosing a draw. I think those margins are going to get really narrow as we continue to talk about Challenge Cup as a whole. So I'm going Courage, you're going Gotham. Let's talk about the Central region. We've got Houston Dash going up against Chicago Red Stars. Red Stars on the road in this one. Houston Dash playing the host. A little bit of similar energy in this one, Lisa, in terms of how I'm looking at it, and compared to North Carolina. Houston Dash, on the other side of that 53-minute weather abandoned game, going into this one against Chicago Red Stars, and this is a Houston Dash team that has already kicked off their Challenge Cup tournament. Chicago Red Stars finally getting their foot into the race when it comes to Challenge Cup. I'm very curious about how these two teams are going to line up against each other. And I'm also very curious about what type of rotation we're going to see from either of the head coaches going into this game, because there's some hefty injury reports, for
with
both of
Chicago.
these teams.
I think a little bit more with Chicago, despite Houston's list being a bit lengthier. Chicago's without Penelope Hawking, the rookie that has been very consistent. She's got 2 goals in the regular season for the Red Stars. Sheena Matthews is also not available. Carrie Riccaro not available as well. Again, I think that's a little bit more crucial than Houston, despite them having a lot of different players unavailable. Allie Prysock, Cameron Tucker, Joelle Anderson, Ryan Garris, all questionable heading into this Challenge Cup weekend game.
Yeah, I think Houston they have more of the players that are questionable, but I think if you're plucking out some of those names, those are typical starters for Chicago that we've seen at this point throughout the duration of their regular season. So I think it while there might be question marks in general around some of the games of like what we might see from head coaches and who could possibly get some minutes, I think this is the one game that you can circle and say there's definitely going to be some player introduction in this particular Challenge Cup game because of the hefty AR list. So maybe not even, full out rotation or swapping, but even like, minutes management, perhaps, if someone, if Valley Prysock is able to give you a start, but maybe she only starts the first 45 minutes of this Challenge Cup game, and maybe someone else slots in the back line. So there's just all these curious little moments or scenarios I think that you could kind of take a look at, and it's because of some of those question marks for me that I have this one as my draw, Lisa. So who are you picking?
I like that you picked this one as your draw completely. I could see it. I mean, as we talked about, any of these 3 games that we see midweek could be a draw. I like that you're going with that. I think that there will be a lot of rotation, lots of different players, perhaps in different formation as well, just to kind of lean into specifics and player position availability in this one. But I think Houston is a little pissed off about their 52-minute loss in the regular season to North Carolina. They also lost their opening Challenge Cup game to Kansas City. That was Casey's first win. Now they're coming into this one, and they're going up against the Chicago side that hasn't played a Challenge Cup game yet. So advantage to Houston, even though it's like we're playing these concurrently with the regular season, so they do have games under their belt. But I think that Houston's going to come out and win this one. Sam Lady has just already done a fantastic job at the helm with the Dash, and he is going to start to turn things around this May with this team. They're going to start clicking, and it starts in the Challenge Cup. I go with Dash.
Yeah, maybe they come out with a little bit more sense of urgency because they've got those drop points in the Challenge Cup, and who knows, maybe Chicago Red Stars are taking a look at their season in front of them, and maybe they're going to take a look and see at some things that they can go out and win. And I think Challenge Cup could be one of those things. We'll see. We'll see if we're correct on this one. We've got one more game to make some predictions on. Let's move to the West Coast and look at the Western region. It's OL Reign versus Angel City in this one. Look, you hate to say that on paper, maybe one team is just going to take all of the points, but I can't help but take a look at what OL Reign will have going into this game and what Angel City will not have going into this game. And one of those is going to be Julie Ertz, who is not going to be available for this game for an excused absence on the availability report. And I think when you're looking at the OL Reign side of things, also an excused absence in Olivia Vanderjagt, but they've been that's not unfamiliar for them. I think they have played without Vanderjagt before. They have been playing without Rose Lavelle, so it's not new at this point to see the precaution that they're taking with Lavelle and the leg injury. And I just think when we're looking
really
at
slow with Rose Lavelle at this point.
no. I just think when we're looking at this game, I think you could say, you can make a case for a draw, but I think in this game, you pick a winner or a loser. Do you have a winner or loser, or are you going to shock us by picking the draw?
I have a winner in this one. I think OL Reign's going to win. This is a rematch of the same Challenge Cup game we saw last time between these two sides. We got the chicken dance from Jess Fishlock, goals from Jordan Heitema, and then Jess Fishlock forcing an own goal against Angel City. But it was the way that this game happened. It wasn't an obvious pick for me to go with OL Reign by any means, because in that first Challenge Cup game between these two sides, Angel City dominated. They had shot after shot. They were putting a lot of pressure on Claudia Dickey, who was in goal for OL Reign at this time. Fallon Tullis-Joyce got a bit of a breather during the midweek Challenge Cup game. 14 shots for Angel City throughout this game, 7 of them on target. They were putting a lot of pressure on, and they wanted to get a goal. We saw Cambreros make her appearance for Angel City in this game, and she looked very aggressive and got into the box. But the way that OL Reign was able to score their 2 goals, they ended up winning 2-0 against Angel City. The first one came from Jordan Heitema. She was putting pressure on Angel City's back line, and it was Eisenhower that was in goal for Angel City, and Heitema puts pressure on her. It's a bit of a mistouch from Eisenhower, which sucks. You hate to see that from a goalkeeper that's trying to get time and get minutes, and then Heitema capitalizes and scores the goal. And then the second one, a corner kick from Megan Rapinoe sends it into the box, and Jess Fishlock kind of just redirects it on goal, and ends up being an own goal. But for this OL Reign side, they're just on a cruise right now with their play and what they're able to do. They've got 12 goals for and only 4 goals against in their last 5 games, in which they are all undefeated in those 5 games, and they've scored 12 goals. So they're on this roll. They're moving and grooving, and I think that they're just going to carry that through, despite maybe a bit of rotation that we see from Laura Harvey's side. They're going to carry that through against Angel City again, 2 familiar sides going up against each other, and I think OL Reign gets the win in this one. Narrow, but they still get the win.
Narrow. Okay, I like that you're putting a little bit of a scoreline on it. Listen, I hear you. I hear the case, and I agree with you. I don't think it's as easy as just sort of looking on paper and looking at the previous match and just sort of giving that win. Things always come down to those very, very precious and fine margins. But I think one of those fine margins might be the head to head in the coaches. I think Laura Harvey's gonna have a little bit more to to plan for in this game and have her team prepared in a little bit of a different way than Freya Kuhn might for Angel City. I respect and appreciate Laura Harvey's frankness and perspective of Challenge Cup. As it is something that it's a tournament that she feels like head coaches and teams need to utilize to their own personal advantages and how they want to utilize those things. And we've seen Laura Harvey not shy away from that player rotation, or at the very least, some minute management across the roster for her players. And I would anticipate that we're going to see a little bit more of that in a game like this against Angel City. So I'm also going with All Rain in this one. I do think there's a winner and there's going to be a loser between these two. And I think it's going to be Rain kind of tightening their grip a little bit more on that Challenge Cup. 3 games, 3 predictions. Of course, we'll check back in and see if we were correct. You can watch all of these games on Paramount Plus. Got Courage and Gotham kicking off things at 7 p.m. Eastern, Houston and Chicago at 8 p.m. Eastern, and All Rain versus Angel City after dark, 10 p.m. Eastern kickoff for that one. So tune in tonight if you've got the time.